This is the next episode of Run the Mindset, and we have a special guest, my man Chris Tartarian, House of Tartarian. From what's that show? Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. Good to see you, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, I know. It's been a while. You had me on Talking with T. I appreciate that.
Yes.
And it was really fun. So now it's like my turn to have a conversation with you.
Let's do it.
All right. So I have my first question. Usually I kind of start out with like a fun question in the beginning.
Yeah.
Will you only main Ken for the rest of your life?
Yes.
Why?
Yes. I feel like what pulled me into Street Fighter in the first place was Ken.
Okay.
My earliest memory in life is me selecting Ken against my older brother.
Okay.
On Street Fighter 2.
Okay.
And
like SNES or?
Yeah, on the Sega.
Okay, Sega. Okay.
Yeah. And when I watched the Street Fighter 2 movie, the animated movie, which is the greatest movie Street Fighter anything ever released,
Okay.
I just thought Ken was such a sick character, right? And then playing him in Street Fighter 4 when I finally got it, it was like I just wanted to be the best Ken. So I felt like my legacy could be had through Ken.
Yeah.
Now obviously there's, patches and other characters that could be stronger and whatnot, but I'm a Ken player, I love my character.
Yeah. Speaking of Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, that's a great movie, like you mentioned. Which versions did you watch?
I watched the Arabic version of that
the Arabic
movie.
version?
Yeah,
Okay.
because it was on VHS.
Yeah.
I remember I watched it at my brother's friend's house when I was like 7 years old. So
I watched it recently because my friend Matt McMuscles, he told me to watch it so we could have a retro perspective of it. So he sent me a link, and I'm glad I didn't watch it on stream. Did you know there was a rated R version of that?
I didn't know until recently where it shows Chun-Li's.
Yeah, I was like really surprised at that.
Yeah.
Like I was like I literally paused it and I screamed out, "Holy shit!" like I was a little kid again. Like, wait, like I don't remember this when I was growing up.
No, yeah.
But Ken was kind of a jobber in the movie though.
Why is that?
I mean, he got destroyed by Bison from the get-go.
He did.
Right, and then he got brainwashed and everything, and and then Ryu had to go easy on him.
I don't know about easy on him. He was kind of going on him like when they were at the Rock, when he's punching Ryu.
He's not going to attack him.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Right.
But Ryu's always been better, so that's okay.
I feel like that's so subjective. It's kind of hard to tell who's better between Ryu and Ken because
lore-wise.
Yeah, lore-wise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, lore-wise. But you were speaking how Street Fighter 4, Ken is like the reason why you're like, I want to be the best Ken player.
Yeah.
And you had that. It was such an interesting, I would say, Ken rivalry between like you and Momochi.
Yeah.
For example, I feel like you two were like the leading forces of just like the Ken army, how to get better with Ken, what's the matchup chart and everything.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was like between you two.
Yeah, he was always the person that I studied and watched and admired as a Ken player because I knew I had to give credit where it was due, and Momochi always will be the best Ken player in the world when he touches that character.
Yeah.
So even though I hold myself to a very high standard, I always learn from him, and I feel like when I was at his house in 2017, like he picked up some things that I did as well. And my goal was I wanted to be the best Ken player in America because Momochi was the best Ken player in the world.
Yeah.
And I knew there was levels to this and I had to climb to that level, but yeah.
I mean, I think you have made that name for yourself where you're like, if any Street Fighter game comes out, like people are like, oh, I want to main Ken. Like, which Ken like do I look at? Like, people are gonna look at you.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's always been the case since 4, even in Street Fighter 5, and even now in Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I have to tip my hat off to Angry Bird because he definitely took it to a way new height and came out of nowhere as a Ken player. He never played Ken before. So, and that's my brother, so I mean, he's definitely the best Ken in the world, and I've learned so much from watching him. And him, myself, and Phenom, we have a little Ken group chat where we always talk about matchups and stuff, and I've learned a lot from both of them. So they're great people to learn from as a Ken player, but I appreciate the high regard for that.
So it's the new Trinity.
Yeah, that is the new Trinity.
The Ken
now,
Trinity,
yes.
huh?
That is the new Ken Trinity. Yes, me, Phenom, and
that is actually hilarious. Actually, it grew from Street Fighter 5 to Street Fighter 6. Right?
Yes.
I guess
yes.
Julio betrayed it because he's a filthy JP player.
He's a
now.
bastard JP player now.
Right?
Yeah.
So how did obviously we touched about talking with T. You're growing that podcast like series as well. How did that come about? Like, what made you want to start talking with T?
Honestly, man, I got really sick and tired of watching my fellow professional players get absolutely berated on Twitter.
Yeah.
For any opinion that they gave. I mean, nowadays, any professional player or a player that is very high level posts anything, and you automatically within a few minutes see 3, 4, 7, 14 quote retweets. And the best example of one that just happened recently was Snake Eyes that tweeted about PCs, which was a very normal.
We've been fighting that fight for a while.
We have been, man. We've been fighting that fight for a while, and just overnight, so many quote tweets, and it's just a very disrespectful environment for players that don't deserve that. They've shown consistency over many years. They've proven to be the best in the world at what they do. And I wanted to start the podcast in order to hear their own perspectives on not just their characters, but the current space for Street Fighter, the current space for the top players, what it's like to be a top player. And my podcast, I'm catering it to help others. I'm catering it to help the average player become a top player, or the rookie become an average player, which leads to being a top player. So I want that podcast to be a place where players go to navigate outside of the muddy Twitter conversations, and they can actually grow and learn from the conversations that I'm having with the players that I'm having these conversations with. So it just came out of just seeing myself get disrespected and so many others get disrespected anytime we say anything. I mean, literally anything that we say just gets berated on Twitter.
I see Big Bird gets into arguments all the time.
He really does,
Him
bro.
working out, I was like, yo, what are you doing? I'm like, wait, what do you mean? You can't be social on social media anymore.
No, you can't. You absolutely can't. You responding to the person. It's actually very funny. I was at my girlfriend's house, and she has little Pomeranian dogs.
Okay,
and I'm a fan
cute.
of big dogs.
Yeah,
I got Germans,
yeah.
so I love big dogs. And these little dogs are always just
they're
scratching my
feisty.
legs. Yeah, and every time that I eat, I'm like, man, why do they just not stop? You know? And I realized, I know why they don't stop. It's because months ago, one time, I gave them a little piece of meat.
They remember.
And they remember.
Yeah.
And they know that if they keep doing it, they might get that same reaction out of me.
Yeah.
And that's the same exact way when it comes to these online people. Is you give them an ounce of a spotlight that, oh, he interacted with me?
Yeah.
Let me try triggering him again. Or not even aimed at triggering, let me just keep responding. Let me quote tweet, let me do this, let me do that, because it provides them with fame. And in a world where everybody seeks fame now, it's at the tips of your fingers, it's very easy to pursue that, to want that.
The clout era.
The clout era is very real. Yeah,
right?
You see that anybody that quote retweets that isn't being respectful,
Yeah.
it's automatic clout
Yeah.
seeking.
Yeah.
And you just see it way more prevalent today. So I feel like you got to treat them like little Pomeranian dogs so you don't respond to the people that are trying to get a reaction out of you, because it's much more powerful when you don't give them that response, because it triggers them more than it does me when I spend all my time responding back to this clown who doesn't know what he's talking about, and I don't gain anything from it.
Yeah, I guess for me it's more of like an option select. If they get a response, then they win. If they don't, then they're like, oh yeah, it's expected, I guess, right? Because for me, it's like I posted recently, oh look, I got this new joystick, and I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm just a fan of just collecting in general.
Yeah.
And they're like, is this an ad? And I'm like, if it's an ad, it would say ad, but just like me just trying to like show what I love, it's like kind of tough because they just think it's an ad.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a different error, but I mean, hopefully we move forward with it in general and things will get better. But let me ask you another question.
Yeah, sure.
When's Ken's birthday?
Valentine's Day.
Oh, damn.
You thought you were gonna get me with
I
that
thought I was
one.
gonna get you. I thought you were like just a competitive Ken player.
Yeah.
But you just know Ken, like that's your man's.
Like, to a certain degree, yes.
Yeah.
I'm not like a crazy Street Fighter lord. This is not
Yeah, like you don't get like the comics or anything.
No. I mean, I know his birthday because it's
Yeah.
on Valentine's Day, right?
Okay.
But like, I know he's a billionaire You know,
He's rich.
he has a beautiful wife.
Yeah.
He has a kid.
Yeah.
And he's one of the best in the world.
Have you ever watched the Street Fighter USA cartoon show?
The one from like the 90s, right?
Like it's on USA Network. It was with like before Street Fighter, it was Mortal Kombat. Like it was like a joint like thing.
Yeah. I seen a couple of episodes when I was younger, but I never actually watched the entire season or however long it went on for. But it's the one where people throw apples at Guile, right?
Yes.
The way, yeah.
So there was one episode where Ryu and Ken had to fight Akuma.
Okay.
All right, and you know obviously Akuma is known for the Raging Demon, and they talk about it. It's like, oh, Raging Demon is the most powerful move.
Yeah.
And then Akuma smokes Ryu, but he loses to Ken.
Ooh.
You know why?
Why? Because
somehow Ken, this is the first time he ever did a flaming uppercut, the flaming Shoryuken, and Akuma was like, it rivals the Raging Demon.
I wish. I wish it did that in the game.
But that was like, it was really funny because I'm like, ain't no way this is rivaling the Raging Demon, but I guess they had to make it somehow. But Ken became the best in the world in that one episode because he's the only one that was able to beat Akuma on a one-on-one basis.
I'll take it.
It's a terrible match, terrible fight, but yeah, you should check it out sometime.
Yeah, I'll definitely. That sounds like a nice show to watch at nighttime with like rain in the background.
Yeah,
I like the 90s aesthetic.
They probably have it. You can probably watch it on YouTube. Going back from a while back, a long time ago, I feel like the first time I seen you was you and your crew randomly showed up at a random Wednesday night fights.
Yeah.
And like, how did you find out about that Wednesday night fights?
I was around 15 years old when I met Brent through Xbox Live.
Okay.
Filipino man introduced us because he lived 2 minutes away from my house and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And he had to actually, he was already part of that crew. They came over to my house, met my mom and dad, and had to explain to them, hey, you know, your 15-year-old son can come hang out with these grown men to play.
That sounds kind of bad.
It does.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, it does. And my dad's like, what is this? You are going to go play video games, you know? And it took a lot of convincing for me to be able to just go train with them and, you know, have them as friends. But after my father was okay with it, I started going to their house and, you know, all the HD players High Desert players started meeting up and playing, and then they were already on SRK forums. They knew about it. I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
So they were like, hey, there's this tournament, Wednesday night fights. We have to go to it to prove we're the best.
Yeah.
So at that point, I'm 15 and a half, 16 years old. I'm like, guys, let's go beat them. You
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so that's how it started. One day we just decided, all of us got in the car, and we started going to Wednesday night fights, and that's where I met Valle, Watson, Tony, Kino, and everybody that I grew to love, you know?
Yeah, it was really crazy because I remember watching that stream and I just saw like you, Brent, I'm like, all these new players like come out of nowhere, and I'm like, yo, they're kind of solid. Like it was like OD solid. So I just thought that you guys were just like, I mean, you just literally said it, like you were playing with each other and y'all guys just got good in your circle.
That was it.
And you're like, let's go check out the Wednesday night fights and see what happens.
Yes.
And that was really cool because I feel like a lot of other regions never had a random group come out of nowhere and just be like, yo, we know how to play competitive Street Fighter.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of why I became good was because of Brent and my crew.
Yeah.
And Lucan, we really trained, and we had a lot of fun training too, and hours every day after school. So a lot of why I am who I am now is because of Brent and my friends from the HD, you know.
Are you the only one that's still from the group, the High Desert crew, like still doing Street Fighter 6? Or are people still like, I'm still playing Street Fighter 4?
Nah, man.
I know Brent was in the Street Fighter 4 even like last year.
Yeah, so I mean, Brent still plays Street Fighter 4 here and there. Like he'll enter the online tournament here and there. He's still cool with those guys, the ones who run the Street Fighter 4 tournaments and stuff. And that's his favorite game. I mean, I've been the only one now for the last 7 to 8 years. I mean, it spawns back to even Street Fighter 5 times where Brent just kind of stopped playing, and that was the last person in our group to compete with me. So I started traveling alone, and a lot of the camaraderie of why I even started enjoying playing Street Fighter was lost in that. And it's a lot different when you're playing with the homies.
Yeah, of course.
Than when you're just alone.
Yeah.
And that had a huge impact on my mental as well, as to like why I'm doing this. Do I enjoy this? A lot of the things that we've talked about recently.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you gotta make new friends and everything, and
Yeah.
find a new crew to hang out with.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
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 What's I guess it's kind of hard to tell. What's your favorite fighting game?
Street Fighter 4.
Hands down.
Hands down.
Like from like here, the next game's like down here type of thing.
Yes. Yeah. Street Fighter 4. And then I would say Street Fighter 6. Then Street Fighter 5. But I think even Street Fighter 3 is like more fun.
Yeah.
But I think it's Street Fighter 4 because not just how good the game was, but the memories I formed through that game.
Like
the experiences, the traveling, just the world opened up to me
Yeah.
through that game.
Yeah.
And it was just unforgettable memories. But focusing on the game, I just think that was the most fun Street Fighter that has ever been released. And I think everything was just done right up until Elena. But and I know you played that character.
Well, I played her at the end.
Yeah.
I played her in the end just because there's too many counter picks against Rufus.
There was way
time.
too many. There was way too many.
There was way
for
too
sure.
many.
But yeah, I think Street Fighter 4 just had it right.
Yeah.
The fun aspect, you can play for endless hours and your brain would not feel that fatigue. I could play that game for hours and hours and hours and hours and just have fun doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Money matches. People were always down a money match in that era. And yeah, just a lot of the mechanical side of the game where I just feel like it's done perfectly.
Okay. So what's the worst fighting game for you to play?
Street Fighter 5.
Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because, well, starting off, the 8 frames of lag just made it horrendous.
In the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, and also I didn't like how I felt like I was at the mercy of my opponent's V-trigger and EX moves every single round. For example, you play against Balrog or Bison or Urian or most of the cast that could just throw out a random EX move and you no longer are playing neutral. And it was very frustrating. And even playing against Ken sometimes as a Ken player, like, okay, you just did a 15 frame dash and I have to react to it.
Yeah.
It's just very frustrating. So I didn't like how I was losing off of button, activate, guess for game.
Yeah.
Into guess for game.
Guess for game.
Yeah, it was just, it was too volatile. And I didn't like how I felt like playing against somebody who was not on my caliber was a threat. You know, before, if I went into a bracket in Street Fighter 4, I was willing to bet my life on the line that I would beat this player.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
I would put down any amount of money.
Yeah.
All the money in my bank account today, I
Yeah.
would put it on the line.
Yeah.
That's how confident I was. But in Street Fighter 5, we saw no more money matches. Why? That wasn't just because of the online or anything. No, there's a reason.
Yeah.
People still money matched, but it wasn't like 4.
It wasn't like 4.
And now in Street Fighter 6, have you money matched in 6?
I haven't money matched since 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the last time.
I have not asked anyone to money match in 6, nor has anyone asked me to money match in 6 because you can lose to anyone now.
Well, I think it also, I feel like it changed as well. Like during the Street Fighter 4 and Marvel 3 era, that was the last time when the FGC was like FGC.
Yes.
Now it's like good games. We'll play again next time, and it's very casual, very friendly. Like so, there's not much money matches anymore in any game. Like once Street Fighter 5 came out.
You're right.
So I think the last time there was money matches is probably whenever Punk gets mad, and then he'll money match like Dragon Ball money match Q-Sticks.
Yeah.
And then he did Hotachi. So he's literally the last person that will just be like, if he's pissed off, he'll money match you.
Right.
But everyone else it just doesn't exist anymore. And it was really cool because even the Japanese players were money matching in Street Fighter 4.
Yes.
Like all of them.
Yes.
Like especially Canada Cup. Like everyone would just money match everybody. Like it was literally like you just get priority. Can we get this up as a money match? And then the players will willingly get up because they want to watch the money match go down.
Yes.
It was really good.
Yes, I missed that. And I do agree with you that a large part of it is definitely we're all homies now, for most of the part.
Yeah.
But I also think that it's because in a world where the online is almost perfect, you would expect more money matches to be had. I could money match somebody online if I really wanted to.
Yeah.
But why am I not? Well, because I know that I will get hit with drive rush into drive rush. So it's not worth it. I will not prove that I'm the better player than you if I beat you in a first to 10.
Oh, you know what? I get it. It's because when two people money match during Street Fighter 4, the two players believe that they were better than the other person.
There you
In
go.
Street Fighter 5, Street Fighter 6, you have doubt.
Yes.
Because you're like, oh, like I could lose to this person.
Yes.
So then that, that confidence of money matching is just not there anymore. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, that is kind of sad, actually.
Yeah, no, it's very sad because the money matches were an integral part of the good kind of pride.
Yeah.
It could have led people to bad parts of pride, but like it was the competitive spirit that like I'm better than you. I know I'm better than you, and I'm gonna prove it by beating you in this money match.
What was if you had a memory of your favorite money match that you participated in? Could you remember that?
No.
No.
No, because I've money matched so many people in the Street Fighter 4 era.
Yeah.
But it's always just funny when my favorite money match, I don't know. I really don't know, but I can't think of one particular one. I really can't. But it was always against somebody who just talked too much and they got put in their place.
I like the Mark Teddy Bush style one.
Oh my God,
that was a good one. On stream on Wednesday Night Fights. Wednesday Night Fights had some really good grudge matches. They did.
I'm not going to get into that one because I know Mark, he just wants that to be forgotten.
Gone.
He just wants it to be gone, bro.
It's impossible, bro.
It is impossible.
It's literally impossible.
Because of everything that happened. Yeah, but yeah, definitely. What about yours, actually? I'm curious about that.
My favorite money match?
Yeah.
Probably, probably the most recent one. I had a Marvel 2 one against Roundhouse.
Really?
You know Roundhouse? So he's from SoCal, and there was this tournament called Battle of the Strongest in New York, and he won that. But this guy's, in my opinion, he's a complete scrub. Right? Like, literally, he doesn't play how Sentinel's supposed to be played. He's playing Marvel 3 Sentinel, which is normal jumping and calling Iron Man. He's just counter calling. He's like a smart player.
Yeah.
But, like, his execution is like a 0.
Okay.
Like, he has no execution whatsoever.
Yeah.
So he was talking about how he would be able to beat me in a long set. So I got wind of this, and I went onto his stream, and I said, "Yo, I heard you're talking to me that you could beat me. Let's money match for $5,000, right?"
Yes.
And then obviously he has so much pride because he won like a big tournament, and I don't touch Marvel 2 whatsoever.
Right.
Right. So he had a bunch of backers. And I was like, I don't need backers. I have my own money. I could just put my own, I'll put my 5,000. You can have your backers, and we'll just set it up.
Yeah.
And that's what we did, right? I went over to his house, and I beat him 10-4. No, was it 10-4?
You went to his house?
15-4, I think.
Yeah.
Or some score where it's like not close whatsoever. Yeah. I went to his house, and there was a bunch of people. They streamed it. It had like literally over I think 10,000 views, like people watching on Twitch, on this channel, and yeah, I just smoked them, right?
Right.
And the best part was obviously I have my side, people side bet against me against other people, and Neo and Chris Matrix, they were like talking to me, and they're like, "Yo, you're not gonna practice?" I'm like, "No, I don't need to practice. Like, I literally watched how he play, and I know how to beat him like frame one. Like it's just like there's no way he could beat me." He's like, "I don't know, Jay, you should practice." I'm like, dude, trust me. Like, I don't think I can lose to this guy. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes. But that's what I'm talking about. That confidence, because you can just frame one. This guy's not better than me.
Yeah.
I know exactly how to beat this guy.
So yeah, that was probably my most recent one. But this was during. This was the end of Street Fighter 5.
Okay.
Because I was in the Street Fighter League with Team Panda, and that was when the money match happened.
Okay.
Right. So it was.
Sounds lit. I gotta go back and watch that.
Yeah, no, it was free. So it was just me destroying him, and yeah, it was pretty fun. When was the first time in your life that you realized you had a deep voice?
The first time I called a girl that I liked.
How old were you?
When I was 13 years old.
Okay.
I called her house because back then you called the house.
Yeah, the landline.
And her father answered and thought that I was a 30-year-old grown man.
Yeah.
And I had to go on no, sir, I'm in her class, I promise. And, I hear yelling in the background and this isn't that. And the daughter had to swear that I was, one of her classmates.
Yeah.
Then I was like, damn, I got to be careful now. I can't just be calling the house. I got to be like, hey, what time are you going to answer the house phone? That was probably the first time that I realized, oh, damn, I got a deep ass voice.
Would you say there are times you use your deep voice for like, just like Riz or that your voice is helping you get somewhere with a person that you're interested in?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, because I'm not over 6 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to use what God's given you.
Yeah.
So because Brent and I, back in my youthful days, and I know my girlfriend's gonna be watching this, we were a good dynamic,
Of course.
And obviously he's good looking, he's over 6 feet.
Yeah.
But for me, I had the voice.
Yeah.
So we
it's
complemented,
a combo.
we complemented each other very well when we were trying to, talk to women.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've definitely, you have to, you can't not use it. You have a good voice, you have to learn how to use it. I had to learn how to talk to women.
Ah, okay. So did you like stutter, or were you always like kind of well-spoken?
No, I learned how to speak
properly.
relatively well, yes, because I didn't want to sound like I didn't know what I was talking about. Obviously, I don't know it all, right? But I wanted to be able to speak in a way that showed a higher state of intelligence.
Yeah.
And accompanied with a deep voice, it's very quick to attract someone to it. A deep voice, naturally, somebody's going to hear that and be attracted to that.
Yes.
And then when they hear what you have to say, and let alone add the fact that you're not weird and you know how to flirt, it becomes a little bit easier than most guys that are probably my height and don't have a voice like me. And
yeah, you can use your voice in like many ways. Obviously, I
Absolutely,
feel like
yes.
you have like that narrator voice.
Yeah.
Like for like TV or documentaries. So that's something that I feel like your voice could be on as well.
I'd love to do that. Yeah, I'd love to do that one day. That's also why I wanted to start the podcast. In my whole life, I've heard, you have a deep voice, you have to use it in this and that, in radio, music, whatever. And so I just figured, okay, well, let me start off by making a podcast. And sure enough, it's been getting good attention. So
okay. Nice, that's cool.
Yeah.
You're also a chemistry teacher, right?
Yes.
So when you teach your students, like how old are your students when you're teaching them?
I had 7th graders and 10th graders the year before.
Yeah.
So 12 to 13 and 15 to 16. But mainly I'm in high school, so like 15 to 16 years old.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And like, so when they talk to you about like, let's say non-chemistry stuff, like video games, like you can have these conversations. Like, have you had those type of conversations with them before?
Yeah, absolutely. I figured that where I could be best used as a teacher, how I can benefit these kids to the best of my ability, is by using my life experience more so than the chemistry side of it.
Yeah.
I enjoy having conversations with my students about life and the struggles that they go through more than I enjoy teaching about the atom.
Okay.
Because those are the areas that I could really, really impact the student.
Yeah, for sure, 1,000.
Because I know that most kids, if not all of them, hate chemistry. This year I had over 200 students and maybe one of them was like
into
chemistry.
Yeah.
So because Street Fighter has given me so many great life experiences, I've been able to help students in the areas of life that they need help in.
Man, did you ever have any students that like played fighting games at all?
Yeah, I had a 7th grader last year who was like a Super Smash Brothers prodigy in the school.
Oh shoot, okay.
Yeah, and he's trying to play fighting games. But other than him, I haven't had many students show interest in fighting games, but more so in streaming and being professional esports players, whether it's through Call of Duty or Apex or anything. And I've had students come up to me and ask me like, how did you do this? How did you overcome that?
Yeah.
I had a student last year who was terrified of being in his first tournament, and I had to like sit him down and prepare him mentally for it. And when he didn't perform as well, I told him, don't worry, son, I've been in that dark corner mentally plenty of times. So that's where I can help them.
That's really cool, actually. That was not an answer that I expected, but that was really cool. Yeah, because I personally hated chemistry when I was going to high school.
Yeah, I hated chemistry too, man. I hated chemistry throughout high school and college.
I wasn't a fan of science. Like, really? I was more of into history. I like history in general.
Me too.
Just knowing like what happened before I was born.
Yeah,
shit,
dude,
you
me
know?
too.
That
I
was really
freaking
cool.
loved history.
Yeah.
I loved history. I actually loved astronomy as well. Like I was always fascinated with the universe. But yeah, man, history was my thing. I mean, you can ask me anything about World War II, World War I, that era, and like medieval stuff.
You got it.
I love it, man.
So when you watch like shows that's like kind of like it's like, oh, we're in this era, you're like, fake.
Okay, not to the like historian level, but I'm a fan of like ancient Egypt, Greece, World War II, World War I, all of that before
like
I was born.
Okay, like you'll understand like some of the things that they throw in. You're like, oh, like this is really good.
Yes,
really cool.
yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right. So you go on Twitter a lot, and why do you always defend Ken?
Man, I'm actually glad that you asked this. Because if there was ever a time for me to actually be able to talk about this, it would be now.
Yeah.
Okay. So the narrative that has been painted about me for many years now has been that I'm a Ken Downplayer, or that I complain all the time about Ken.
Yeah.
I have never said that Ken is not good in Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, for sure.
I have never said that Ken was not S tier in Street Fighter 6. So this is a packed question, okay? Let's take it back to Street Fighter 4. Vanilla Ken in Street Fighter 4 was garbage.
Yeah, he was just tap carrot throw. That was his game.
The only time Ken became relevant was in Arcade Edition, for the time that he was relevant, for the time that Arcade Edition was actually good.
Yeah.
And then became irrelevant up until Ultra.
That's crazy you mentioned Arcade Edition, because I don't remember Ken at all because he was overshadowed by Yun and Yang and Fei Long.
Correct.
So like I didn't even know what Ken really had to offer in Arcade Edition, because it was such a short time span.
Correct. So other than Arcade Edition and Ultra, where I believe Ken in Ultra Street Fighter 4 is top 5, Ken was irrelevant in Street Fighter 4. And in Street Fighter 4, I was 14 years old till about 19, 20.
Yeah.
That's a very young man with a lot of emotions.
Yeah,
okay?
for sure.
And Twitter back then wasn't what it really was, now. So I might have said some things that were stupid back then, but I was a young man, Now let's fast forward to Street Fighter 5.
But that step kick though.
That step kick was broken.
Yeah, that step kick though.
You will never see me say, you will never bring up a tweet where I was like, step kick is not good.
Yeah.
Step kick was godlike.
I
wish Ken had step kick. What is this run kick BS that he has now? I want step kick.
It's been like that in 5 years.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was trash. I want step kick. It controlled neutral really well.
It was a really good poke.
It was. So, fast forward to Street Fighter 5 was when all those downplayer, complaining things, the only thing I ever complained about in Street Fighter 5 was his inconsistent combos.
Yeah.
Because that was killing us as Ken players. Crouch medium punch into target combo was whiffing on so many interactions, and it made you unsure about going to the combo route that the game wants you to go to. And stand medium kick into roundhouse hit confirm was whiffing as well.
Yeah.
So my biggest complaints were that my character's combos are not working and it's getting Ken players killed. I'm not just saying this because, I want Ken to be buffed. No, I'm speaking to a lot of Ken players, and this is all in agreement of what they are experiencing as well. And because I have a higher platform than they have, I use my platform to help the Ken players as well, which Ken players at that time definitely appreciated. I would get many messages from Ken players like, man, thanks for saying what needs to be said. And I just took a lot of heat for it. That was the main thing that I had problems with Street Fighter 5 Ken, was the inconsistent combos, which is fair to tweet about. You want your character to be fixed, literally fixed. Now there was some tweets where, maybe it shouldn't have been tweeted out in that Street Fighter 5 timeline, but look, man, after season 1, Ken was garbage.
They did say Ken was the best character. Like, I think Japan's the one that said Ken was the best character in season 1. I didn't. I was like, no way.
But he definitely was not.
Yeah, I was like, nah, I don't know about that.
He got debunked after like the first 2-3 weeks of Street Fighter 5. Fudo released a video where he shows you just gotta duck jump EX Tatsu.
Yeah.
To this day, I hated jump EX Tatsu. Give me Ken's EX Tatsu. I don't want an EX dive kick. I want my Street Fighter 4. Imagine if Street Fighter 4 EX Tatsu existed today.
That would be cool.
It would be broken.
Yeah, it would be really good, yeah.
So that was the best version. But anyway, Street Fighter 5 Ken was garbage after season 1 until the very last season, where Angry Birds started dominating because he got buffs in the right directions. So that was the Street Fighter V era, and now Street Fighter 6, as of recent, with Akuma being released and some of the tweets that I've said, people took me saying that Ken was not top 3 as me saying that Ken was absolutely horrible, which was just complete lack of critical thinking or reading comprehension. Every time that I tweeted, I was saying, you know, Ken is still S tier, Ken is very strong, this is and that. But the one time where I say, man, you know what? Ken's target combo nerf actually really hurt him. Ken's jump EX Tatsu not crossing up anymore, it's useless now.
Yeah.
So you're saying that Ken is the worst character in the game and that you don't have Fireball Drive Rush, and this is a complete lack of reading comprehension and mental IQ, you know? And
it's like, I like pancakes, so you're saying you hate waffles?
Exactly.
Right?
So, I mean, it's very difficult, and it leads into the bigger conversation of how Twitter people, which aren't real people, right? They can label you as somebody that you're not, and that narrative will stick for the rest of your life because it's what's popular.
Yeah.
You know how many people have come up to me and said, "Oh wow, you're not what I thought you would be when I met you." Well, yeah, obviously, you know, because you're listening to a bunch of people that don't know what they're talking about talk about me. So that's what I have to say about the whole complaining and the downplaying thing. I'm not here to downplay. I'm here to state what's strong about my character and what's weak about my character. And obviously, if you had the option to buff Rufus in any way that you could, you would make him the best character in the game. Any player given the ability to make their character stronger would make their character the best character in the game. I am in favor of that. I'm in favor of Rufus being the best character in the game, as long as Ken is also the best character in the game, as long as Ryu's the best character in the game. I want a Street Fighter where all the characters are brain dead, busted, broken, because the game is more fun when you have more tools to overcome things that you would overcome.
Broken stuff is fun. I mean, right now people are saying that, and I think so too, the 6 balance is really good.
It is.
It's really good. And I did remember your tweet about saying like, oh, I think Ken is better in this season.
Yes.
Right, you did tweet that. And it's just that other characters got more buffs and they just went up in the tier list. And you know, there's people saying that Ken is the worst Shoto now.
Okay, good.
How do you feel about that?
I think that he is the worst Shoto, but that doesn't mean he's bad.
That doesn't mean he's trash.
I think that Akuma is better. Obviously, Akuma just came out, so we don't really know. But from what we're seeing, from what I've seen, I feel like he has the potential to be the best Shoto or the best character in the game, potentially. I still feel like Luke is better than Ken, and I feel like Ryu is still criminally slept on. So if anything, either Ryu or Ken are the worst Shotos.
Yeah, it's between those two, huh?
But if you were a Shoto archetype player, there is no reason for you to play Ken when there is Akuma, Luke, and Ryu. That's what I'm trying to say, as he's the worst Shoto now. I agree with that, because he may win in some matchups where Ryu might not, but there's also matchups where I feel like Ryu does better than Ken and Luke and Akuma, etc., etc. But being the worst Shoto does not mean that your character is bad. It just means that there's no reason for you to play that character when the others can do it better.
Yeah, I guess it's because when you think about Shoto, you think about like balance, defense, that type of archetype.
Yes.
But Ken was never that type of character. He was more of that aggressive, close range Shoto. So it's always a I feel like it's always difficult for developers to balance Ken on how they want Ken to work properly. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I would say the best time Ken was like really able to shine, like you said, it was like Ultra in Street Fighter 4.
Yes.
Even Street Fighter 6 Ken, they did such a great job. Mm-hmm. But probably my favorite Ken of all time is probably Third Strike Ken. I think that's like the example of what you want Ken to always look like.
100% agree with you, because during the downtime of Street Fighter 5, I started playing Street Fighter 3 with Neiman, and I was like, I remember you told me you want to have fun with Ken, play Third Strike Ken.
It's so good.
Like, you'll actually have fun with the character. So I started playing Third Strike, and I'm like, man, this Ken just feels so right in the Ken player's
whip
hands.
Punish,
the whip punish is the low
super
forward,
and everything.
Roundhouse super. Everything about that character was mad fun. So I'm like, this is an ideal Ken. To me, Ultra Ken and Third Strike Ken are ideal, what Ken is supposed to play like. So those are the most fun for sure.
Yeah, I love Ken. I can't beat him. Like I get smoked by him all the time.
So good, bro.
Like we played 3 first to 5s. He beat me 3 first to 5s.
Yeah.
I can't mess with him at all.
He's insane, bro.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot at Third Strike from that. I still want to play you in Third Strike.
Yeah, we still have to
I haven't touched it in a while, but I feel like if I play with you a little bit, I'll be able to remember some stuff. But yeah, I hope that addresses the whole Ken
No.
complaints and all that. It's not even annoying. It's like, bro, what are these people even talking about?
It's just funny to me because I know what you're saying, but people have taken it as this is the meme of you.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, and I'm like, and I'm seeing it from like, you're probably reading it like, what are these guys talking about?
Literally. It's came to the conclusion of, okay, lack of IQ, lack of reading comprehension.
Yeah.
And I can't fault somebody for having a lack of IQ. You know what I'm saying? That's their own problem.
Yeah, it's everyone has their own different ways to learn, right?
Yeah.
And everyone has their own like things they like to do. So like for example, like let me ask, what are your other hobbies outside of fighting games? Because I feel like when people see you on Twitter or you do a podcast, you know, obviously it's all fighting game related.
Yeah.
But besides fighting game, you know, obviously you talk about you like dogs, you have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
You're all about family.
Yeah.
And even before Evo, like you travel to your home country.
Yes.
Like what's the stuff that you like to do?
Yeah, as an Armenian, family is ingrained in me from birth, you know, like the culture, all of that. So family is very important to me. My mother and father, and taking care of them is very important to me. It's like my biggest priority in life. And, you know, because you want to help the parents that raised you, you know, that gave you everything that you could ever ask for.
That's what they're going to expect. Hey, I'm old. You got to take care of me.
Exactly. And they expect it. It's that culture. I love my dogs. They're like my kids. I love my girlfriend. She's the one piece of life that actually provides me with peace. So that's always good.
Yeah.
And I love finding new interests that God has to offer me in life. For example, I've had miracles done to me through Street Fighter, right? Where it's like exploring, meeting great people, everything, right? Winning tournaments. Winning a tournament in itself is a miracle, right? But then also what happened with my team in Street Fighter League, that was a miracle.
Yeah.
I witnessed that happen in front of me. And to be a part of that was a beautiful experience. So God has given me miracles through Street Fighter. And so my brain goes, what other miracles await me in other avenues of life?
Yeah.
Could there be miracles with music? Could there be miracles with learning how to paint or to draw or to climb or to do anything?
Yeah.
You know, what there's so much that life has to offer. Am I only Chris Tatarian, the Street Fighter player? Or could I be Chris Tatarian, the master pianist, or an amazing rapper, or an amazing painter? Whatever it may be, or just somebody that is appreciated by his family and the ones that he loves and the ones that love him. So hobbies of mine, I listed some of them. I love playing piano whenever I get a chance to.
That's cool, yeah.
Writing lyrics, rapping. You know, spending time with my dogs is very important. That's something that I've realized over the last year because I haven't had as much time over the years. And just making memories with people that I love to where when I get to a certain age, I am not filled with regret once they pass. That I didn't get to spend the time with them because I was too self-absorbed in winning that I neglected people that I love and potential other great opportunities that await for me. So that's what I have to say.
No, I mean, it really depends. I feel like a lot of people, like you said, there's life has to offer a lot. I didn't know you were into piano like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, well, I'm not into piano like that.
But you like done it before.
But I've done it a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
And I picture a timeline or a universe where, what if I was just a master pianist?
Yeah.
Or a master rapper?
That'd
Or
be cool.
whatever field. Like what did that universe look like for Chris T?
Yeah.
And could that universe still exist?
I mean, it could. You never know. Like when you get older, you're gonna have different hobbies for sure.
Of course, of course.
So you mentioned Street Fighter League. How was it like teaming up with Xiaohai, Mena, and Kava? Because I feel like the language barrier is kind of tough between the three. Obviously, Mena can translate in Spanish.
Yeah.
But Xiaohai's English is not the best, and I don't think any of you know how to speak Chinese. You know what I mean?
No. I think the beauty of Street Fighter is that the game in itself is a language that we can all understand.
Yeah.
So there might be moments, and there were moments where Xiaohai is trying to explain something to me, and I'm looking at him like, show me in the game.
Yeah.
Okay. You know? So we go into the game and he shows me this punish or this thing. And so I understand that way. And the beautiful aspect of what our team was that we all, for some reason, genuinely cared about each other and wanted each other to do the best of our abilities.
Yeah.
We helped every single person in that team recognize their potential and meet that potential when the moment was needed for that potential to be met. For greatness to be shown, all of us had to work on each other. A lot of my teammates helped me early on with my mental because I had lost the first to one to Nephew and to Dual Kevin.
Yeah.
And they were in my hands, but I just, I lost. And at that time period, because I was so involved with my work and school, I wasn't training as hard because I didn't have the time to. So I felt behind. And so they all stepped up to help me realize this is what you got to work on. This is what you got to do. This is where you're losing, And having that support system from my team was crucial in order for me to rise when the moment needed me to rise. So it was an amazing experience, and I'm grateful to Mena for choosing me to be on his team. And the experience in itself, man, was something that I'll never forget.
No.
And something that none of us will forget from that team, because we really bonded as a group. Sometimes you can have a very, very strong team, but mentally, energy-wise, they don't connect. And we connected through energy.
Yeah.
And it showed when we really needed to be there for each other. And all of us played our part in that win. And I can't, that's what I mean by a miracle. It was a miracle to see that happen and to be part of that. Now, obviously, Mena carried the team. He's the best player in the world.
Yeah.
He did his part. And I just love that I was a piece of the puzzle that helped not only his dream come true of winning Street Fighter League, but Kaba's dream came true, Xiaohai's dream came true, and my dream ultimately came true as well. So that was just an unforgettable blessing that I got to experience.
Yeah, y'all were really hype and killed it on the stage. Like you were like, oh, like screaming. It was like insane.
Man.
Like it was like the way your facial expression. It felt like you were literally watching a real sport.
Yeah.
Like goddamn, like this guy just came back, like the home team and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really beautiful to see. Like I seriously enjoyed watching it, and like you shouldn't sell yourself short, because there was one time during I was watching Street Fighter League US, right? And you know how there was that time frame where like Xiaohai was just getting punked by punked. Like he kept picking jury, he kept losing to Punk, and it was just bad.
Yeah.
But then you had to play Punk in one of the episodes, and you smoked them with Ken, right? And you just like he just kept guessing wrong, and every time you got in the corner, you just guessed right. And that led Xiaohai to pick Ken against Punk the next time they fought, instead of just trying jury, right? And then that's when Xiaohai finally won against Punk and did that, like, oh, like, like, are you nervous? Are you nervous, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, like, like, you have to give yourself the credit. I feel like you have to give yourself credit for that one in particular.
Oh, absolutely. That was something that was a monumental moment for our team.
Yes.
And for myself too, because there was a lot of history behind that match. And I don't want to get into detail, but some of the players, like you obviously know, but there was a lot of history, and there was a lot of things that I had to hold for a very long time until the moment needed me to unleash.
Yeah.
And that was a moment where I struck, and the conversation that I had with Mena, Xiaohai, and Kaba afterwards, which led Xiaohai to picking Ken, as soon as we went back to the room, Xiaohai was like, this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what you do. This is how you're going to do it, and you're going to win. And that's exactly what happened. So that, I definitely try to give myself credit for that. And Mena has been a huge mental part of it, where, after the win, and obviously in the World Finals, I didn't beat Tokido or Sako.
Yeah.
But having those conversations with Mena, he really reaffirmed the credit that is owed to me, and how we all played an integral part into the team winning. So he didn't want me to not count myself as a world champion, because when we look back at it, there's a reason why Tokido did not play against Mena.
Yeah.
And we saw what happened to Tokido when he played against Mena.
Yeah,
in Evo Japan.
Yeah.
So he knew, and Mena was very well prepared for that matchup, and that was my main focus. I had a limited amount of time to put into the game leading up to Street Fighter League World Finals, even though I spent so much time with Mena training.
Yeah.
Obviously, you get off work, you got to do your homework and all that
you're
stuff.
Tired, bro.
You're tired. But where I was able to impact the team, I'm happy that I was able to do so, which led us to winning the rings.
No, that's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
All right. We got one more question for you.
Let's do it.
What are the top 3 Kens of all time? Like in order, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I'm gonna stick to Street Fighter 4 to Street Fighter 6 era because I'm not knowledgeable enough to know from Street Fighter 2 to the
Third
Alphas
Strike,
and the Third Strike. Because you honorable mentions, you have to mention guys like John Choi, Vae, Ricky, Neiman, all these greats that came before us, right? But from Street Fighter 4 to Street Fighter 6, I would say Momochi has to be number 1. Mm-hmm. I think that he understands the character of Ken better than anybody. And I would say that it's a toss-up between me and Angry Bird.
Yeah.
Because Angry Bird in Street Fighter 5 showed a lot. Like when I was watching Angry Bird at the end of Street Fighter 5, I was like, damn, this is the way you're supposed to play Ken in Street Fighter 5, and I've been playing like crap this whole time.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put my brother Angry Bird above me as the second best Ken player of all time. And then I would put myself as the third best Ken player of all time.
Okay.
Based off of consistency.
Yeah.
Results over the last 15 years. I think for sure I've been the best Ken player in the US for the last 12 years or so.
Yeah.
But as humbly as I can rank myself, I would put Momochi, Angry Bird, and then myself. And there's amazing players like Big Bird was one of the best Ken players when he played Ken.
Yeah.
So hats off to him and a lot of the other Ken players that were in that era as well. Nothing but respect to those guys as well. But I've worked hard to be where I'm at.
Yeah, and even possible future new Ken players like Enzo, right? You played him recently. He got second to you.
Yes.
Was it like? Did you just win that like flat out, or was it like, oh, this is kind of a little struggle?
No, I think Enzo is 13 years old.
Yeah.
And when you watch somebody play Street Fighter, you can sense the maturity level in the game. They might not be there age-wise, but you could see it in the game. And he plays like a 35-year-old man. So while he's 13 years old, he definitely tries to play in the proper fundamental way. It's very, very strong. So I feel like if Enzo has a dream of being the best Ken player in the US or the world or something like that, then he is definitely the best candidate to fill that role.
Like he's on his way.
I could pass the torch over to someone like Enzo.
Yeah.
Because he's very respectful, and I love the play that he displays, and I feel like he has the best potential to be one of, if not the best Ken player in his generation.
Yeah, it was really funny because like I see him a lot on Rank Match, and one time I was streaming early, and I ran into him.
Yeah.
And it took me like a second to be like, wait, Enzo, why aren't you at school?
Yeah, right?
But then he's like, oh, I'm on summer vacation. And I'm like, what do you mean summer vacation starts in May?
Oh, yeah.
I did not know summer vacation starts in May in California.
It starts in May now, yeah. May 29th was the last day for my school. But it's because, the thing is because we start now in like early August. Whereas
terrible.
I remember starting school like late August or early September.
Yeah, mine's September.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Now we have more breaks in the school year, which I personally like better as a teacher. I like having more breaks. Now they introduced like October break and some...
Oh, what?
Yeah, there's October break.
Oh, shoot. I did not...
week-long break,
we didn't have that.
I take it. I'll take that, But yeah, it's because they've introduced like more breaks here and there, more days off. But it just means for a little bit of a shorter summer, but it's okay. I mean, it's okay now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But other than that, Chris, thank you for being on the podcast. Let people know where people can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at Chris_Tatarian on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. You could just look up Chris Tatarian. Definitely check out the podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube. That would be really appreciated. I appreciate all the people that have supported me for all these years and that have stuck by my side through a lot of difficult times in my life. So I appreciate all the fans. If it wasn't for the fans, man, it would be so much harder to do this. You know, it's very nice to get some great messages from you guys. So thank you for all of the support that you guys show.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want for high-level Street Fighter discussion, check out Talking with T. You have with like literally almost every top player at the moment. You have Will Mena, you have Big Bird, you have Reinhardt, Valle, Chris G. Like you have with so
Angry
many,
Bird and yourself.
Yeah, so many more people. So, and I'm sure like it's gonna keep growing. So yeah, I really appreciate it because it's definitely like what I have on my background, like in the morning when I'm working, just to like you know, it's like because it sounds really good. It's like soothing to hear.
Nice.
You know,
well, I'm glad to hear that. You can watch it at any time. Hopefully, when you're falling asleep or driving to work or driving home or anything, and you want to get better at Street Fighter, definitely tune in to Talking with T and also Run the Mindset as well, my brother.
All right, man.
I appreciate you, man.
See you guys later.
Yes, sir.